COVID-19 has come. It is not so fun. We're caught in between. This is not a dream, but we're making it work. We're making it work. Let's get to work. We'll just start and say, hey, Chris.
Hi, Lauren. How you doing?
That was a very high-pitched welcome for my lovely friend, Chris.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me on the show. I am calling it Let's Get to Work. I even did like a little improvised theme song in the beginning, which you will have not heard when we are recording this.
I'll hum along to it later on.
Thank you. So I would like to start the series just by getting to know you, who you are, and how it is that we met each other.
Oh, amazing. Well, my name's Chris Mead. I'm an improviser, and that's how we know each other. We met at Improv Amsterdam, which is a big Dutch improv festival, and I think that was 2 years ago. No, 3 years ago. Oh my gosh. But yeah, 3. Amazing. Yeah. So we met in a workshop, I believe. I think our friend Gael, I think that's where we met. Is that right?
Yes, we met in Gael's workshop about movement, which was really interesting. And I saw you taking
French movement.
French movement, which is like the best kind. Well, I don't know if it's the best kind, but I really enjoy what he does. And I saw you taking really good notes, and I like note takers.
Yeah, I do drawing notes. I like to do that. It's the way my mind orders things. I guess I must be very visual. So I like to draw little things that will remind me of how I feel in the moment. And I think sometimes some teachers think I'm being disrespectful and not really listening while I'm doodling. But doodling makes me focus even more. So all teachers out there, I am listening. I am appreciating your content.
And on behalf of also all doodlers out there, that's just how our brain works.
Yeah, come on, we all work differently. Let's all work together. Doodlers are people too.
So that's what this show will be about, is making doodlers human again.
I mean, the other thing is I'm a terrible drawer as well. I don't think of myself as in any way an artist at all, but it's not that it should be good, it's just how I need to order my thoughts. It won't work otherwise. It won't go in if it's just a bunch of text.
You teach then, I think, in-person improv, right? So how are you managing, what are you up to now during this corona crisis, because you're not teaching in-person improv?
No, it's been quite a hard time for the improv community as a whole. So many teachers, so many performers. We book so far in advance, festivals or just traveling, and all of that's just gone for the foreseeable future. And so we're seeing a really exciting time, I guess, in improv at the moment, where everyone's trying to figure out how we do it online, how we take this performance art that is so much about connection, about being in the same place and being collaborative, and how we do that when there's a screen between us where we can't pick up every tiny movement of the face because frame rate issues or we're on a tiny screen or whatever. It doesn't feel the same immediately to be playing. You can't just sit like we're doing now. After a while it kind of feels like a conversation, but then there'll always be something that will take us out of it. There'll be an artifact on screen, or one of us will get broadband issues and start kind of jumping around the place, and then suddenly your brain is like, oh, this isn't she's not there with me. Actually, we're not really in the same place. And it's the same in an improv scene. Suddenly, you're in flow, and then suddenly you're taken out of it. So everyone's trying to work out how to perform online and how to teach online. And I have to say, for me personally, I haven't taught yet online. I'm part of a really amazing organization called the Nursery, and the Nursery is just throwing themselves at the problem. So we have classes, I think most days actually, and certainly the teachers and the staff have been doing R&D sessions each morning, just working out not just how can we do the games and the exercises that we do offline online, although that's part of it, but also what are the opportunities that this new medium gives us. So what can we do online that we can't do offline? And I see this happening not just at my theatre, in theatres all over the world. It's improvisers going, right, one of the tenets of who we are is we're flexible and we can roll with the punches and we can make up new stuff on the spot. So how do we respond to this thing that's happening to us? And I've been in a few shows which have been really interesting. So shows seem to fall into two categories at the moment. There's ones where you accept the situation. So it will be an improv show based in a Zoom call. So the people are actually on a Zoom call in the scene, as well as that being the medium. And also people who are trying to transcend that and just do scenes where you sort of ignore the fact that there's two screens. And I've seen brilliant versions of both as people are trying. But also you have to succeed and fail on camera. That's the thing. We can't just immediately be good at in this new world. And there's people who've been doing improv for 20, 30 years who are suddenly beginners again and have to be okay with sucking in front of the internet, essentially, and do that over and over again until they get good. So that's something that I've seen. The people who are who have been brave enough to keep doing it even when the product wasn't brilliant to begin with, are the people who are now really good. And I think that's a nice lesson.
Yeah, and I think that for the non-improvisers watching, one reason why this whole scene is really challenged at the moment is because when you have improvisers, performers on stage, the way that improvisation works is you're feeding off of each other, and you're looking at everything. You're looking at not only what they're saying, but their body language, what's happening around. And you're losing that in the online world.
My duo partner and I play a two-person improv show called Project 2 with Katie Shute, who's an incredible improviser, and our thing is science fiction improv. And so we were invited to be the first improv group to do a VR show, and we did a virtual reality show. We had our own avatars that looked like us. And we could draw things in thin air and they would become real. So, you could draw a spiral and then it would become a 3D spiral that you could move around and throw at people and things. And so we had all these really interesting tools. But I realized how much of a scene I find in in Katie's face, in her eyes, in an arc of an eyebrow, right? And so when we started improvising in virtual reality, I was just staring into this cartoon face that was unable to articulate at all. And I felt so alone compared to how I feel when I'm on stage with her. We've done an hour and 20-minute shows, right? We could barely get through a 3-minute scene when it was just the two of us staring at a blank computer-generated face. So it was, as you said, everything that you've built up, all of the things that normally give you energy and allow you to improvise well, all these little feelers that we send out, we don't have any of that, or we have a lot less of that when we're working online. And it just feels really strange and really scary.
How do you move past that scary? Because I can also see a lot of, like, I can imagine for myself being like discouraged. Like I don't have a need to do improv online because I'm like, I don't know what to do. So how do you keep that encouragement up also for yourself?
Well, I mean, I haven't really. I've been watching a lot of other people be brave, and personally, I've been working on other avenues. But I think the people who are doing it the best, and I would say there's an Austin group called Parallelogram Phonograph. Most people just call them P-Graph because it's so long. And they're probably, to my mind, the best narrative improv group in the world, really. They've been working together. There's 4 of them for, I would get it wrong. It's definitely numbered in the decades, though. It's a long time they've been together. And they were definitely the group that were like, we're just going to do this. We're going to do this every night until we're good at it as we are on stage. And they were already brilliant, even from their first show, but they got better and better and better. And talking to people in that group, they say that there was one show, a cowboy show, where it just clicked, where it suddenly became like it was when they were on stage, that they started to have fun, not worry about it anymore. And they started to play with each other and play with the form. And yeah, it just clicked. So I'm not going to lay claim to this myself, because I haven't been brave enough to keep doing it over and over again. But from my friends who have done it, it seems it is just perseverance. Just do those shows over and over again. Be okay with failing in front of an audience, even if it's a global audience. And then suddenly you're not failing anymore. And it's the same in all improv, really. I'm sure any of us that have been doing it, you know, you have moments of brilliance right from the beginning, and that's what convinces you that you'd like to keep doing it. And then at some point, all those failings, all the bits where you go, oh, I'm not good enough, and the self-critic comes in, there's just a moment where suddenly you're like, oh no, I can do this. And so in real life, so it seems in online improv too, you just got to keep at it.
And I talked to a friend of mine who's not in improv, just before you, Kimberly. She's an English teacher, and she said right now what she's focusing on is just having fun. And the more that you just try and have fun and kind of like, yeah, just say whatever, it's dumb fun, the more that perseverance gets a little bit easier.
I see. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
No, I see it all the time, because I teach all levels of improv, and beginners just are there to have fun. They don't want to have a career in improv. They're not there for any other reason than to have fun. And so the first 8 weeks, people have an amazing time, and then the second course we'll put a show on at the end, and still mostly people are just like, oh, there's that energy of being the first time on stage. They're just having a great time. But level 3 is really interesting, because by that point, people who are going into their 17th week of doing improv, they have a reasonable thought that they should be getting better at that point. And so their internal dials move from, I'm just here to have fun, to I'm here to get better. And that most people's improv take a nosedive about the point that they forget to play, and what they want to do is get better instead. So for my own personal thing, I know Kimberly was talking about something different, but yeah, as soon as you lose the play, you lose any kind of quality. I think you've got to find ways of continuing to be playful in improv and in life, right? The people who I admire most of the older generation than me are the people that haven't stopped playing. They haven't fallen into a rut. They constantly do new things. They find new hobbies and get involved in new things, join new groups. People who never stop playing and discovering and learning new things. Those are the people that A, get really good at stuff, and B, seem to be younger, have that youthful energy that we associate with young people. They just have never stopped playing.
So how do you so the question I have is, and I'm included in this, right now, a lot of people are trying to explore and play with the internet. So it's very like, in a way, confrontational, meaning you see how everyone is playing. And do you feel that can hurt the play process because you are exposing yourself, or is it that you can, like, the more you get used to doing something in front of people, the more actually play is helped?
Yeah, I think it's very hard. As soon as you start thinking about other people are doing this, other people are watching me, then I think play can be compromised. Yeah, it's a kind of a catch-22 situation, really. As soon as you start thinking about how much you're enjoying yourself, analyzing your enjoyment, then you're not going to be enjoying it anymore. You've got to somehow get into this weird mind space where you don't care about anything other than being playful. But if you interrogate that at all, it's like a house of cards, it all collapses. So you just got to genuinely love the stuff you're doing. If you're online because you feel like you need to be, because you have a reputation that you need to uphold, that other people are going to outstrip you in your whatever your endeavor is, then you're never really going to get good. If you're there because you just love it and want to play and want to be there, I think you have a much better chance. But don't, if you're doing online, if you're making your art online, don't do it because you have to. Do it because you want to, because it fills you with light and hope and love. That's why you should be doing it, not because everyone else is doing it and you feel you should too.
Yeah, I am so glad that you said that, because the more that I'm talking to people and also kind of experimenting with like what it is that I think is fun, like these interviews, the more that I'm realizing like the way through this uncertainty, like I'm going to use the coronavirus as a backdrop, but honestly, it could be any form of uncertainty, right? But when the coronavirus hit, like, I don't know, it suddenly hit us in Europe and in America, like all of a sudden, even though we knew it was coming, but it really just felt within a matter of days, like, holy crap, my life is upended. And I know that you were in South Africa when you got the news that everything was being upended in the Europe and in the UK. And something that so we have this like this darkness, this uncertainty, that's what I call it, and we're just like trying to like navigate to find like the light switch. But it's funny because I think that to find that light switch, you kind of have to play around, right? And and I think it's a great time to explore what it is what is play. We've been so consumed as like, especially adults, or I mean me included, with like, we have to make money, we have anxieties, this world is going to crap, and well, all of that is true, and there are people that are sick, and there's so many layers to this pandemic and what's going to happen in developing countries. Like, we can go everywhere, and we can go really deep, and we can go really serious. But I think this is also an opportunity for us to find that play, that youthful spirit, that belief that, in anything can happen again.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, obviously, we have to say, first of all, that this is terrible. People are losing their loved ones, and the virus is attacking the weakest and the most vulnerable out of all of us. It's overtaxing health systems across the world. It is awful what's happening on a global level. On a personal level, I think you're right that it is giving each of us an opportunity to pump the brake on our lives a little bit. We're all overcommitting. We're all getting caught up in the rat race of success and ambition. Not all, but a lot of us. That's how society is structured, how capitalist society is structured. And we're finding ourselves, however type A we are at home, we're with our families, we have time to cook and to exercise, to think what's important to us and to work on it. If we have enough food and we're affluent enough to be able to sit with ourselves, that's actually a huge gift. And I'm not naive. I know that is not a reality for a lot of people. If you were struggling day to day before, then this is a time of incredible anxiety. But for those of us that are lucky enough, to have a bit of money put aside or to be in a salaried position, it is a gift in one way, despite this backdrop of global apocalypse. I hope we come out of the other side of it, and we go, you know what? Actually, what is important is we need to support our health services. We need to support our teachers and our education. We need to invest in society and know that how the most vulnerable of us live is the gold standard, right? If we can raise that to a liberal level, then that is what society should be. I feel, I really feel like before this happened, we were slipping into a world where right-wing kind of me first philosophies that were were literally, they were the governments we were getting all over the world. These me first, how can we make the most money? How can we become more powerful? Those were the governments that we were getting everywhere. Certainly in the UK and the US, these much more right-wing governments were flourishing. But now we see what's important is our health services, our educators. How are we going to work together as a society? In the UK, at 8 p.m. every Thursday, we have something called Clap for the NHS, where everyone stands on their doorstep and applauds for these incredible people who are risking their lives every day during this crisis, but also were always pushing themselves to save lives, and were doing so when our government underfunds them and finds way of making more money out of them. We're seeing that now. They're the heroes of our country, and I think we can see that all over the world. I'm really hoping that didn't know I was going to talk about all this, but I'm really hoping that we come out to the other side of it, seeing where our priorities were when the crisis was happening, and building a world that will help and support those aspects of our society later on. I hope we come out better people, a better society globally.
I hope so too. I think the me first you said was like, governments were kind of dictating it, but, in the privileged Western society or in the more developed countries, I think there was also personal me first too. And we are all we have our own experiences during this crisis, and we're all going through our own things. So in many ways, it is also me first, right? I'm kind of doing that with these web series. But I agree, what I'm hoping is what comes out of this is we're finding new ways to serve each other. And if we can do that, then I think that how that will expand offline will be incredible. And it's funny because online, you and I both come from professions. We're both like teachers, you're an improv teacher and I'm a facilitator, where offline, we're like, this is how we connect. We connect in person. We can only do it in person. And we've been like kind of shy on the online a little bit because we're afraid of losing that connection. And it's funny that the online will probably end up bringing that connection even more so when it comes to serving.
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, just using the example of you and me, we've talked more, haven't we, since the crisis happened? But we always had this technology available. We could have always done this. What we used to do was just have a big old catch up when we were in the same place. I mean, we were pretty good. We did use it sometimes, but yeah, I've talked to my mum and dad a lot more. Last night we watched TV together. They were just on Zoom on the screen, and our National Theatre was showing a big production, One Man, Two Governors, and streaming at the same time. So we all watched it at the same time. I never think about doing that beforehand, but all the technology was there to do it beforehand. Why wouldn't I spend an evening with my mum and dad just enjoying something together? And I was talking to my wife about it afterwards, and the show was even funnier because I could see my mum and dad cracking up at something that was happening on the screen. That made it funnier and a better experience. We had our mics muted, so we couldn't talk to each other. We couldn't make comments. Just watching my dad particularly react to this stupid farce show that we were watching, which had loads of pratfalls, people falling over and getting hit in the face. He was in tears. He had to take off his glasses and wipe his eyes at one point, and it just made my heart leap. It made it so much funnier, the show, just seeing how much he loved it. We could have done that any point, but we did it now. And yeah, I wonder whether we'll remember that. I hope we'll continue to wash our hands afterwards. I hope we are so habitually used to that now that everyone will be way better. And when they test those touch screens at McDonald's, they won't find like 1,000 different kinds of fecal matter on it or whatever it is at the moment. So yeah, I think we can be better people. Yeah, never taking away from what an awful situation we're in now. and how some people, like, the bottoms dropped out of their lives, and financially, and the health and stuff. But for those of us that are lucky, for those of us, we should be appreciating what we have, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then, and when we're ready, if we're ready, see how we can help others.
Yeah, as soon as we're sort of out, yeah, again with the NHS, tens of thousands of people have volunteered to do, sort of, be drivers, or things that we can't all learn to be doctors overnight. Who would have thought? That's not something that's easy to do, but there's so much in our health service that requires support, logistical support. So many people have volunteered to do that, and that makes my heart grow a few sizes. Because I guess, I mean, in my country, with what happened with Brexit and everyone voting to move away from multiculturalism and working together, I started to think maybe people aren't intrinsically good, that they don't want to reach for each other. Like, I didn't ever really believe it, but I was worried. And this has restored my faith that, as you say, people reach out and want to help, and are essentially good people. That at our core, human beings want to do good and want to help and want to reach out to each other. I think that's true.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be, I really wouldn't be surprised if those who are in more fortunate situations, such as ourselves during this time, come out of it as, yeah, different people than when we went into it, and also different ways of looking at our own businesses, livelihood, what it is that we do, how it is we act, all of that.
Yeah, I think we have to hold ourselves to account for this. I mean, we're recording ourselves saying this, so we're going to have to, as soon as we can get out there and do things again, like, what volunteering can you do? How can you give back to your local community, your country, your global community? There's so many ways, and we're all using technology now to be able to reach further than we could before. So we have no excuses, Lauren. We have no excuses not to reach out and help.
Yeah, and it's funny. I wonder if the same excuses that we're using to reach out and help are the same excuses that are stopping us from being playful, being creative. We're sticking to normalcy, but normalcy isn't necessarily better. Comfort isn't necessarily better. And even though we can say that we had everything under control, or, what we're shown is that nothing is actually certain. Nothing is in your control. So why stick to the normalcy of before?
Yeah, there will be some great art that comes out of this crisis, of course, because that's always been the case. There will be some incredible things. For me, my practice is, I just try and do at least 3 things a day. I write 3 things that I want to achieve at the beginning of the day, and I want to cross them out by the end of the day, moving towards projects. I want to keep moving. I don't want to just collapse and not do anything and watch because I don't know if you know this, but we are living in a golden age of television, Lauren, at the moment, and we do have a lot available to us. I could just watch amazing films and TV every day, but I don't. I try and look at it as it's a working day. What can I create? Here's 3 steps towards 3 projects. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to just create something every day. Take one more step.
Okay. So you are currently on my whiteboard, actually, because
Woo!
I have been having difficulty with perfectionism, and I'm used to a long list of to-dos and not getting through them, or it makes me really like self-critical, like what is it that I'm doing, and blah blah blah. And also the fact that I don't necessarily have a business proposition right now, because I'm not doing online facilitation, because it's not interesting to me at the moment. So I feel like, and you were the one to tell me, just take a step, keep it simple, just do even one thing it's an act of creation, and then take it from there. And that really helps to not have the judgment, but to also feel like I'm still moving. And the more that what I'm gaining from it is the more that we move, the more that everybody else will move with us, and we can help that, we can support, we can
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, if you take 3 steps a day, you look back after a week, you've taken 21 steps. That's quite a lot, really. And if that's across your portfolio of projects, you've advanced a lot of stuff forwards. Um, it doesn't feel very much at the time, day to day, but I mean, it's like, I mean, I wish I was a better writer, but Stephen King, for instance, just gets up early and he just knocks off the word count at the beginning of the day. Uh, and you only have to do 400, 500, 600 words a day. And then after a month, you've done a huge amount of work. It's that just consistently showing up and doing something. That's how you do a big project. It sounds so simplistic when I say it, but it is true. Just do something every day. If you're going to write, write every day. If you want to paint, paint something every day. If your critic starts talking, say, oh, that one wasn't good enough, then you won't do the next one that was going to be better, or the one after that was going to be brilliant, right? You have to have a relationship with your inner critic and be okay with failing. And I think as improvisers, again, we are used to that because that is part of the art form. It's what we're taught, that failure is good, that we need to run towards it with open arms, that failure is not the opposite of success. It is steps on the way to success. The opposite of success isn't failure, it's just doing nothing at all. It's inertia. Failure just means that you are beginning to succeed, that you're on the way. And we see that very clearly in improv, but it is true of all art forms, of all kinds of creativity.
yeah. I'm a little speechless because it so resonates, and I'm one. I know myself, I know the improv community, we're one to just do it anyway, to take that risk, but that doesn't mean that critical voice doesn't say, hey, what are you doing? Don't do that, that's a bit risky. I mean, improvisers also have that critical voice. It just means they're more likely to fall into it.
Yeah.
And so the other thing I want to add is do the 3 things or one thing or whatever it is, that one step, but do it with joy, like you said.
Yeah.
Make sure it's something that it's playful, it's fun, it doesn't have to make you money.
No, I mean, especially at this point, it's not going to mostly.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to give you fame.
Yeah, yeah. Oh.
It's interesting. I think this whole time and in what it is that we're learning in this conversation alone, I have like so much like, learning moment here, learning moment here, learning moment here. And I hope, like you said, that, we just look at success differently at the end of the day. We look at connection differently. We look at how we're serving people differently. And we look at how we look at ourselves differently. I think there's so much opportunity. And I'm also then curious how the improv community and business will evolve with those tenets.
Just in terms of improv, I think the theatres that are doing these things and are intending to keep going with them, that are going to add online stuff to their portfolio after we are able to go outside and meet people again, I think they're the ones that are going to succeed. I think those that are doing it as a kind of panicky stopgap measure, and just while the crisis is happening, people can feel that their heart's not in it, that they're doing that because they have to at this point. Well, the people I'm really looking at, the people I'm really impressed with, are those that are going, right, this is an opportunity to start something new that we will continue to do afterwards. So yeah, don't don't create out of fear. Create out of like, where's the buzz, where's the excitement, where's the next thing. I think that's how you're going to succeed in the long run.
Thank you, Chris. And is there any way that we can support you before we end?
No, I'm very happy. I do podcasts, I guess, that I'm very proud of. I do an improv podcast called Yes Bot, and I do a Doctor Who review and sketch show called the Oodcast. So if you're into improv or Doctor Who, then I have a podcast for you. If you're not into either of those two things, I have nothing for you. But that's okay, isn't it? We all have to follow our bliss.
That's true. And I will say you do have very good life lessons. So, and I thank you for bringing them forward here. And I am familiar with Doctor Who, but not the biggest fan. And I very much enjoy your Oodcast. So I will just say that.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. Yes. We try and we, again, I guess it feeds into the lesson. We love the series, and hopefully it's interesting to hear anyone talk about something they love, even if you don't love it yourself.
COVID-19 has come. It is not so fun. We're caught in between. This is not a dream, but we're making it work. We're making